cameras flashing. The covers drop and there it is, the Pagani Zonda C12, gleaming under the lights at the 1999 Geneva Motor Show. But how did a kid from a bakery in Casilda get here? 1950 Casilda, Argentina, a town of dirt roads, wheat fields, and the smell of bread in the morning. And the bread shop was a boy named Horacio Pagani. His father worked the ovens and his mother was an artist. But young Horacio didn't just hang around the ovens. He spent a lot of time in small workshops where he learned model making, finishing, and craftsmanship, the skills that would later shape everything he built. Then one day, everything changed when a Jaguar E-Type drove past. While most people drooled over it for speed, at that moment, Pagani realized cars weren't just about horsepower. They could be art. While most teenagers were plastering posters of rock stars on their walls, Horacio obsessed over a Renaissance genius, Da Vinci. Da Vinci believed art and science were one and the same, and Pagani held on to that belief, using the philosophy to guide every sketch, every wooden model, and every half-broken tool he rebuilt. Horacio enrolled in industrial design and mechanical engineering courses in Argentina. But books and classrooms couldn't hold him. By age 20, he had designed and built his first Formula racing car, often described as a Formula 3 type racer. That little experience caught the attention of some serious players. His creation gave him a seat at the table with a brand that actually put cars on the track. Along the way, his work also caught the attention of Horacio, Argentina's racing mastermind. But every hero needs a mentor, and Horacio's was none other than Juan Manuel Fangio, the five-time Formula One world champion, Argentina's ultimate motorsport god. Fangio introduced him to Mercedes-Benz, giving him credibility in a world where having a famous name mattered more than talent. And then came the big gamble. By 1983, he knew Argentina was too small for his ambitions. If he wanted to sculpt the future of cars, there was only one destination: Italy. So what did he do? He packed his things alongside Fangio's recommendation letters and took a leap. His first job in Italy wasn't exactly a prestigious one, working as a janitor. Most people would have quit, yet he treated that broom like the first step of a master plan. You see, he wasn't just another factory worker. Back in Argentina, he had already played with composites, fiberglass, resins, lightweight materials, stuff most Italians weren't even thinking about yet. So when Lamborghini needed hands for odd jobs, Horacio slowly started sliding from broom to workshop, from workshop to design office, from nobody to somebody who could change the way cars were made. At Lamborghini, he applied composite techniques to prototype projects, most famously the Countach Evoluzione. He also contributed to work around the LM002, the so-called Rambo Lambo, bringing polish with materials no one else dared to try. It wasn't headline glory yet, but it proved he wasn't just sketching dreams. He was laying down the future with carbon and resin. Pagani composite research would later touch several Lamborghini icons, but back then, it was still just Horacio sneaking composites into the conversation. But the real obsession was growing in the shadows. Carbon fiber, stronger than steel, lighter than aluminum, perfect for racing, but Lamborghini's leadership was completely blind. The company was broke, clinging to tradition. Every time Pagani brought up carbon, they brushed him off. So he took matters into his own hands. He bought an autoclave with his own money. That's like an intern buying NASA equipment just to prove a point. The result was the Countach Evoluzione. The prototype was nearly 500 kilograms lighter than the regular Countach. Despite the brilliance, Lamborghini still didn't get it. They were drowning in financial problems, too scared to bet on innovation. Horacio, on the other hand, had just proven the material worked. Despite setbacks, Horacio pushed forward. In 1991, Modena Design was born. It wasn't a car company yet, but a composite laboratory hidden in the beating heart of Italy's Motor Valley. Horacio didn't have to wait long to prove himself. Formula One teams came knocking. Ferrari needed lighter, stronger parts for the F1 cars, and Pagani delivered. Motorcycle companies wanted racing components that wouldn't shatter under stress. Race teams, chasing every ounce, started ordering custom pieces. While his clients thought they were just buying race-ready components, Pagani was secretly building the knowledge base for his ultimate goal. Then Project C8 was born, a car as aerodynamic as an F1 machine, but as breathtaking as a Renaissance statue, a rolling symphony built from the same black fibers he'd been championing since his days at Lamborghini. Every great masterpiece starts with a sketch. For Horacio Pagani, that sketch looked like a Group C race car that had been sculpted by the hands of a Renaissance artist. Now, art needs a heartbeat. For Pagani, the heartbeat would come from Mercedes-AMG. He didn't beg for the most extreme race engine. Instead, he humbly asked for a stockpile of sedan-spec M120 V12s. To Horacio, the harmony of 12 cylinders was music. Originally, the car was supposed to bear Fangio's name, the Fangio F1, a tribute to the man who believed in him when Lamborghini had slammed the door. But tragedy struck in 1995 when Fangio passed away. Horacio couldn't stamp his friend's name onto a car so soon after his death. Out of respect, the badge was removed and the prototype carried on nameless, like a canvas waiting for its final brushstroke. Pagani took the prototype home. Climbing into the Andes for testing, there the wind howled through the peaks at speeds of over 210 kilometers per hour. Locals had a name for it, the Zonda. And so, in 1999, after 6 years of obsession, sacrifice, and refinement, the curtain finally lifted. At the Geneva Motor Show, under the blinding lights, the world saw the Pagani Zonda C12 for the very first time. By the late 90s, the supercar world was already stacked. Lamborghini had the Diablo, a fire-breathing wedge that looked like it was carved with a samurai sword. Mercedes had the CLK GTR, a barely disguised Le Mans car. You needed a race license just to survive. Both were powerful, but they were also brutal, uncomfortable, and about as practical as a jet engine in your living room. Pagani looked at the chaos and said, "Supercar doesn't have to punish you to be special." The Zonda was his rebuttal. Instead of designing another angry monster, he built something you actually wanted to sit in. Leather straps fastened the engine cover like something out of a vintage aviation. The pedal box was machined from solid aluminum, adjusted to fit your exact foot position. The switches were giant toggles sprouting from a sculpted dash, each one feeling like it had been stolen from a spacecraft. Every Zonda interior was different because every Zonda was someone's Zonda, built for you. The first buyers weren't just customers, but collectors. Pagani had only planned a tiny run, but demand exploded with over 100 Zondas eventually built in countless bespoke variants, each one proving that Lamborghini and Mercedes never dared to deliver. The journey started with the C12, but Horacio didn't let it sit still. Almost immediately, he went back to the drawing board. Then came the C12S. Bigger lungs courtesy of a 7-liter AMG V12 and a sharper suspension setup. Then the S 7.3, packing even more displacement and torque, matched with traction control and ABS. Then Pagani did something wild. He chopped off the roof. In any ordinary supercar, that would be the kiss of death. Flexing body panels, wobbly corners, and the handling shredded, but they laughed in the face of convention. You see, Pagani didn't dome the structure. He built the whole thing around carbon fiber. From day one, the monocoque was so rigid it didn't need the usual brute reinforcement. Convertibles flex until you realize the Zonda Roadster adds only approximately 5 kilograms over the coupe version, yet keeps the same backbone strength. So when the roof comes off, you don't lose cornering precision. You don't lose grip. You just lose the roof. But the real breakthrough came in 2005. The Zonda F, for the first time, Fangio's name was proudly attached to one of Horacio's creations. AMG squeezed over 600 horsepower out of the V12, while Pagani introduced advanced composite technologies, most famously Z-Peg, pre-peg structures to cut weight and boost rigidity. On Top Gear's power board, the Zonda F clocked a blistering 118.4 lap, quicker than the Ferrari Enzos listed at 119 and right on the heels of the Bugatti Veyrons at 118.3. But Horacio wasn't chasing speed for the headlines. He said it himself, going faster narrows your vision until all you see is the road. He wanted you to see the car, to feel it. Still, the records came anyway. Then Pagani threw the rule book out the window. Enter the Zonda R. This wasn't a road car with tweaks. It was a pure track weapon built with its own extreme parts and radical aero. And because Pagani is Pagani, he followed it with ultra-limited road legal runs like the Shinku, Tricolore, and later the Revolucion. He followed it with ultra-limited road tiny batches and one-offs that blended track insanity with license plates. Carbon titanium bodywork, paddle shifters firing in under 100 milliseconds. It was the closest thing you could get to piloting a race-bred alien on public roads. So what's Carbotitanium? Imagine weaving carbon fiber, already one of the strongest and lightest materials on Earth, with ultra-thin titanium strands. Carbon gives you lightness, titanium gives you flexibility and toughness. Blend them together and you get a material that doesn't just resist breaking, it refuses to even crack. First true test of carbon titanium came with the Zonda Shinku, but Pagani wasn't done flexing. Next came the Zonda Tricolore, a tribute to Italy's national aerobatic team. The Frecce Tricolore, only 3 cars painted a deep blue carbon fiber with a tricolor stripe running down the spine. Then came the Zonda Revolution. This one didn't care about the road. With 800 horsepower and extreme aerodynamics, it was the Zonda stripped of civility, Pagani's ultimate track weapon. If the Zonda R was insane, the Revolution was lunacy refined. Faster, sharper, lighter, and of course, rarer. 5 cars only, because Horacio always believed perfection should be scarce. But the most personal chapter came with his Zonda Barchetta. 3 cars again, but one of them wasn't for sale. It was Horacio's own car, his gift to himself, a rolling autobiography in carbon and titanium. You'd think after 2 decades of perfecting the Zonda, Horacio would have called it a day. But no, artists don't retire, they evolve. And for Pagani, the next canvas, the Huayra, very name taken from Huayra Tata, the Andean god of wind. Huayra introduced active aerodynamics, 4 flaps that constantly adjusted like bird wings, keeping the car stable whether blasting down straights or carving through corners. Underneath sat another AMG V12, this time twin turbocharged. Some purists worried Pagani was trading soul for numbers, but Horacio tuned it not like an engineer, like a composer. The interior was a museum of detail, machined aluminum switches that felt like jewelry, and leather stretched and stitched like Renaissance canvases. In 2022, there it was, Utopia unveiled. Not just a V12, but a twin-turbo V12 with 6 liters of pure rebellion against the hybrid wave, 864 horsepower, 1,100 newton-meters of torque, rear-wheel drive with a choice of bone-crushing manual or a razor-sharp 7-speed automated manual. From the right, it was just 1,280 kilograms dry, and despite its monstrous power, the Utopia is surprisingly lightweight, which makes it less scary to handle than people might assume. Pagani called it his answer to modern demands, but it was really his rebellion, proof that emotion still mattered in the face of sterile efficiency. From Zonda to Huayra to Utopia, the through line never broke. Pagani never chased trends. He chased beauty. He chased feeling. He chased the impossible balance. Machines that are both science and art. The V12 remains, not because it's the most efficient, but because it's the most alive. The interiors remain sculptures, not because it's practical, but because it's personal. Think about it. Horacio Pagani started in Casilda, Argentina, sweeping factory floors and patching machines. By sheer obsession, he ended up redefining Italian automotive design, the very country that had once dismissed him. At the core of it all was his lifelong devotion to Leonardo da Vinci's principle. Art and science are not separate, they're one. Pagani's stories isn't about horsepower or lap times, it's about daring to dream differently and then building that dream with your own hands. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and we'll see you in the next video.